Hello, it's Nikki and welcome to the podcast. I'm so glad so many of you are loving the interviews and thank you so much for sharing, rating and reviewing. I so appreciate it. Anyway, I wanted to continue the conversation of success. So often we hear the extremes, don't we, of rags to riches, homeless to billionaire, sleeping on a random sofa to a blinged up palace. But what about the in-between bits? I know personally I have had many. How do you get from A to Z? But also, how do you get from A to B or F to M? In these mini episodes, I want to provide questions to ponder, ideas that might spark a brainstorm, or raise topics that might be a little bit uncomfortable in the moment, but they will support you to go to the next level of your business. As always, please come over to social media at Nicky Raby, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and breakthroughs. Hello. Today, I want to talk about technology. Now, before you run and think, oh my God, this is going to be so boring, I don't want to listen to this, or I'm not a technical person, this is why I'm making this episode, because neither am I. But over the years, I really have learned to fall in love, not in a creepy, sexy way, but fall in love with technology and make it work for me. However, there have been a lot of mindset things along the way. For example, dealing with those things such as, oh, I'm not very good at this, or, well, I don't have a business degree, so how can I make this work? And I always used to have this sense that I would allow myself to play small. Because I went to drama school, I do have a degree, but I have a degree in acting, which I guess is a really great grounding for meeting people and communicating and being out in the world. You use so many different skills in day-to-day life, but that technical side of my brain hadn't really been utilised. So it suddenly dawned on me that actually technology wasn't going anywhere and I would have to find a way to fall in love with it, to dance with it, to make it work for me. And once I started doing that, actually it wasn't as scary as I thought. And I feel like it's very important now that I'm 5-6 years on in terms of my business, that I can share with you what has worked and maybe give you some pointers along the way. Because we can all stay in that zone of procrastination, the endless researching. And I find it all the time with my one-on-one clients. Sometimes their action step is to go and research. But one thing I do as their coach is to make sure that there is an end point to that research. There is a stage where they actually make a decision so they can start to move forward, because we can all stay in that zone of just looking and having a little read of research and testimonials and thinking about pricing or doing the free webinar. But in order for you to get your business moving and shaking, bringing in clients and customers and sales and money into your actual bank account, you do need to at some point start to make some decisions as well. Now, with all of my episodes, I do like to make them positive, so I'm not going to be slating any companies or saying things that I really hate about stuff. Those opinions will be just kept for me. However, I will be giving you some pointers of things to maybe consider or stuff to think about that may help you make a final decision. Also, feel free to check the description box down below. There are some links in there. Some of them will just simply link to the website, but some of them will be affiliate links as well. You don't have to pay anything as part of that, but I will receive a small commission if you go and sign up through my link. And it goes without saying, I'm only ever going to recommend anything that I use and that I've used for a while. And I'm only going to be recommending something that I've used for at least 6 months. This is really important to me because sometimes you can really fall in love with technology over a couple of months and then suddenly everything changes or you don't use it as much. So the only topics I'm going to be covering and the only products that I'm going to be talking about are things that I use on a day-to-day basis. Now, if you have any further questions, if there's stuff that you just want to know a bit more about, please email me hello@nickyraby.com or DM me on Instagram. I'm more than happy to record a voice note and go into a bit more detail if it's something that is much more personal to you. So feel free to ask me some banging questions and I'll come back to you as soon as I can. So the first area I'm going to be looking at is this podcast, and the setup that I have is really quite simple, and there is a video over on my YouTube channel that you can check out if you like. The main principles of setting up a podcast are to have somewhere to host it. So I use Buzzsprout. You can see the link down below if you want to go and explore and see what that looks like. And what it is a site that I pay monthly for. I think it's about £25 a month at the moment because I pay for, I think it's 18 hours of content. I believe there are 3 packages and I'm on the biggest one. Buzzsprout is fantastic because everything is really simple. It's really easy to navigate. It's easy to connect your iTunes, which again is very important if you're going to be found on the big old internet. I like that you can upgrade or downgrade your membership at any time. So for example, I know over Christmas I'm probably going to be having a little break from the podcast, so I can just downgrade my December one with no issue or complication. In terms of the technology side, I can't talk too much about that because I have an editor, somebody who edits my podcast, but I do know that he uses Audacity to clean it up. Another link that I can share with you which may be useful is Audio Jungle. That's where I purchased the intro and the outro music, which is much of the same. It's just different sections of the same song. And it was really important for me to have music, to have something that would always bring my episodes together and make it really recognisable that this was a Nicky Raby podcast. Now, as I'm sure you'll know, I feel very passionate about paying creatives and paying creatives well for their work and what they do. So I didn't want to just get some kind of cobbled together piece of music from the internet. I wanted to purchase it. And again, this is very important that you look into it in purchasing and knowing what license you are buying. So when I was looking at the pieces of music on Audio Jungle, you can buy different packages. So you can buy a license that is going to allow you to have 10,000 downloads, for example, or you can buy much bigger packages. And again, that mindset thing came up. Oh my goodness, it comes up to say hello of me wanting in the first instance just to do the small one and just see how it goes and not to commit to anything too big. Whereas actually, I invested in myself and I invested in this podcast and I went for a much bigger license. And I'm so glad that I did because I surpassed those 10,000 downloads very, very quickly and it would have suddenly given me something else to do at that point. So invest in yourself. If you're thinking about creating that podcast, it's really worthwhile doing things properly. Over the last year since I launched this, I've seen so many people come and go, or people saying, yeah, I'm going to start a podcast, and they do 3 episodes and then you never hear from them again. So if you do want to make a stand in the market, and I believe there's plenty of space for everybody, one thing I can say is try and get those basics in place, but also be really consistent. Do what you say you're going to do and allow yourself to become a little bit predictable for your audience. So another thing that I wanted to share was the microphone that I use. It's a Blue Yeti microphone and you can link to it down below. I really like it because it's very easy to navigate. You just simply need to set your computer up so it's recognizing the microphone and you're kind of good to go. There's a few simple settings, but everything is very easy and straightforward. It's been really great for me when I have to record voiceover demos at home or when I'm recording my courses because it just improves the sound quality. And QuickTime is a fantastic tool that you can use if you're an Apple Mac user. Okay, moving on to websites. So when I first started out, I knew that I had to have a website. It was very important for me to have a website. And I bought this website in a box many, many years ago, way before I trained as a coach actually. And I think it was called something like Mr. Site. And you put the DVD into your computer and you basically removed what they had And then you stuck a picture of you in its place. I've no idea if this company is still going. They probably changed their model slightly from arriving in a box to maybe something downloadable. But that was definitely my first foray into going online and becoming a personal brand. And then when I started my coaching business, I wasn't coming from a big old corporate background where I had, £10,000 saved and had made that transition. I was very much making it up as I went along. And as I did my coach training, I did win a bursary for some of the fees, but the other chunk of the fees I paid for myself, which was nearly £3,000. Also, I purchased B School, which was another $2,000, I think it was, to help me with my marketing and setting up online. And I really understood even then, and continue to do so, the importance of investing in myself and making strides towards what I wanted and showing up in a way that I felt really proud of and being really professional at all times. I know it can be tempting in the early days to be a bit slapdash or do the free trial or just do the free option that doesn't give you all of the variables, but where you can, if you can, invest in your business, because it will just give you that sense of, I am doing this for real. I was talking today about how I became a member of a members club, and at the time I was only just getting back into work and I had a very young baby, and it felt like a huge investment to put myself out there and to pay an enormous yearly fee. However, I was bold, I swallowed my pride, and I asked special permission whether, if I could, instead of paying yearly, whether I could pay, like I was under 30, in quarterly payments. And this was game changing because I could afford the fee. Of course, I knew that it was going to be a great investment and I knew that it was going to really add to my business. But paying a big chunk of money up front felt like a big, scary, risky move. And I always like to have free-flowing cash flow in my business. I never want to feel like things are really tied up and I can't access cash whenever I need it. Because you know what? Sometimes people pay you late, or things go in a different direction, or things change. And for me, it's really important that things don't just feel too tied up, because I need that consistency and that flow in my business, because obviously I have loads of bills to pay as well. However, I can say that investing in that area of my business, for example, has supported me to increase my prices, to work with more committed, aligned clients, to be able to have big time meetings, you know what I mean? But those meetings where you know that you have to impress, and like a dirty chain coffee shop that has got sticky tables or an egg sandwich on the floor, like it's just not going to cut it. And I think this is the thing also as well that I want to throw into the mix with technology, is to try to show up how you want to show up. Maybe thinking about you in 5 years, maybe thinking about who you are trying to become, who you want to become, and trying to step into that person and how she would make decisions. Okay, let's move on. We're going to move on now to websites. So I mentioned that I wanted to start professionally. I had no idea really how to build a proper functioning website. And in the beginning, I felt like I had to pay somebody to make something, to create it, to design it. And I am a huge believer in paying people for their services and things like that. But one thing that I can share is, in the beginning, I didn't really know what my business was. I didn't have the whole idea completely fully structured. And one thing that I've noticed time and time again is my business has changed so much over the years. I mean, fundamentally, there are a lot of key pieces that pop up again and again and just become more refined or streamlined. But if you'd met me 5 years ago, I would have had no idea that what I've achieved up until this point was possible, and that I would be able to do it and have a kid and write a book and do all the things and have a podcast that people listen to. So one takeaway I can give you is to make sure that before you employ somebody to create something for you, to make sure that you have really done all the groundwork, that you know exactly what it is that you want. And if you don't, and it feels a bit foggy or fuzzy, try and maybe look at some more homemade options. So those templates that are a bit more drag and drop, and keeping things really simple. Because once you've got that framework, I always work on the basis that creating a website is never going to be as hard as it was the first time that I did it. It felt so scary to put myself out there publicly and sort of say, here's my URL, this is me, come and visit and say hi, but please don't read anything. I don't want you to see it, really. And there's another interesting piece in there. I went to meet some website developers, and it happened that they all seemed to be men, and they weren't really sure about life coaching. They didn't really get what I wanted to do, and even at that stage sort of undersold it or underplayed it. And definitely when you're looking to expand your team or your technology, you want to use stuff or work with people that make you feel really good, that cheer you on, that make your life easier and allow you to be the person that you want to be. So I had to play around with WordPress because so many people were raving about it and how brilliant it was. But for me, I found it really frustrating. I couldn't create what it was that I wanted to create. Now, this is nothing to do with WordPress. I know so many people absolutely love it. This is completely and utterly down to me. Because I couldn't code, I couldn't make things mobile friendly, I couldn't put boxes where I wanted to, I couldn't make it look aesthetically pleasing, and whatever would happen, I would always end up with some random bit of code that was always popping up, and I'd be like, oh, you're there again. I was sure that I'd erased that. So I knew that I wanted to create something that I would be able to tinker with and play around with and add and delete as and when I needed to. A friend of mine suggested Squarespace, and as soon as I found it, I was like, yes, this really works for me. I love Squarespace because it's relatively low cost. I can sell things through my website. It's very much a drag and drop type situation. Although there are some fantastic templates and themes that you can work around. Sometimes in the beginning it felt a little bit fiddly to figure out, but once I sort of found my stride and once I realised and took some time to try and be playful with it and not just get stressed or not just want to drink wine and go, close my laptop, I've had enough. I tried to stay in that headspace of, ooh, look, fun, I'm making a website. Even though on the inside, sometimes I become a bit disenchanted with it. So Squarespace is a big thumbs up from me. Their customer service is fantastic. I think they are based in the US, so sometimes in the morning if I need something, it's not like I'm messaging them all the time, by the way, but sometimes I do have to wait, I think until about after lunch, and that's when their employees come to work and their messaging service is up and running. But it's so brilliant, their messaging service, because you can copy and paste something. You can actually give them your URL so they can see what you're seeing, and they're fantastic. And I can't really compare it to anything else because I haven't really used anything else. I've been with Squarespace, I think, since October 2014. So I've really built up a really lovely relationship. And one of their team helped me to sort some stuff out around my DNS settings, which was very complicated, but they made it really easy. And by the end of the conversation, I almost invited him for Christmas. That's how pleased I was. Okay, another thing that I want to mention is my Stripe account. Stripe is kind of like PayPal. I really like Stripe though because that's sort of what's recommended through Squarespace and other membership site hosting situations that I'm with. I love it. It comes with an app. It's really easy to access. It lets you know your balance, your customer list, when the money is going to be transferred. The money does take about 5 to 6 days, I think it is, to move from your Stripe account into your bank account. So even though you think, oh, brilliant, I've made a sale, it won't actually get to your account for a good few days. But when it does, happy days. I haven't had any problems thus far. Okay, this is the juicy stuff, because I know so many of you want to create much more passive income products and membership sites and online courses in the coming months and year ahead. So here we go. I've done a lot of research about this, and I know that other people will have other opinions that will be just as valid, that will have all of their merits and their own research. So once again, just to reiterate, I'm just sharing what works for me and for my business, but it may work for you too. So my requirements were quite specific when I was looking into this area. And again, I knew that I needed to choose something that was going to be very simple, very straightforward, because before I started creating passive income products, it felt absolutely huge. I was doubting myself every single step of the way, like, can I really do this? Like, am I not just going to get found out? Or it must be people who have huge teams and huge budgets and know all about marketing who can actually make this work. But please, believe me when I say I'm helpless without you. No, I always can find a Grease quote wherever I go. I'm just laughing at my own jokes here. But believe me when I say it's all about your mindset with this. Generally, there are so many great videos or support systems or help desks that will ease you through the process. But you do have to be in the right mindset to kind of go for it and to figure it out. As Marie Forleo says, she's one of my mentors, everything is figure outable. And if you can have that attitude, it will just keep you in the game rather than crying in a corner. So my requirements were, I wanted to create courses and products that were able to be accessed without me being part of that. And what I mean is, I have people who purchase my goods, it sounds very gangster, but the services that I offer from all over the world. I'm in London in the UK on a specific time zone. So in the first instance, I was looking for a protected members area type platform that my customer would be able to create their own account, that they would be able to sign in and purchase. If they'd forgotten their password, it wouldn't involve me. They would be able to figure it out separately. This was really important to me because if I'm going to scale and if I'm going to take my business where I want it to, these little things could potentially take up a lot of my time and actually cost me a lot of money. Also, I knew that I wanted to have a really good payment system. So if I was selling courses, I wanted to know that the money that I earned from those courses was going to be with me fairly shortly. And I know it's not often immediately unless it's a backs payment. But generally, I wanted to receive the money within, a week, 2 weeks max. And one thing that I found when I was researching these platforms was a lot of them had 60-day or 90-day terms. So it would mean that you wouldn't actually get paid for another 2 to 3 months later. And maybe, of course, I like a bit more instant gratification. But for me, it was really important to have that cash flow, as I've mentioned before. Another key component for me was the ability to keep it simple. I didn't necessarily want some big old complicated system that would just be so stifling, because I would never have done it. I would have never have got there. So I did look at a few programs and they just left me baffled, to be honest. I was just like, no, it's not the one. I need ease and flow. And I just had to keep going back to the drawing board because I sort of knew that it would be out there. So I'm now at the point where I do sell things through my website. But if we're talking about membership courses and digital programs, I use 2 platforms. The first is called PayHip. This is perfect if you're looking to sell workshops or webinars or online classrooms or an audio download or a PDF, things that are probably towards the lower end of the spectrum in terms of pricing. With something like PayHip, it's very easy to set up. All you have to do is to log into your account and connect it with your Stripe account and add a title, add the product details, so that whether that's a video or a PDF or an audio or a Word document, whatever it might be. Then you're able to price it and add a big old description and a paragraph about what it involves and what your customer is going to get. You can add a few different forms of media, and what happens as soon as your customer has purchased, they're able to just simply download the material. So they're not actually logging into something. They're not seeing everything on a page. They're accessing all of that separately. And so that's great. That's great if you're just doing a one-off workshop. You can just download it and open and see it right in front of you, and you can save it onto your desktop and you can use it whenever you like. So PayHip, and more details about that is down below. I've found it really easy and straightforward. The URLs that you can use are very easy to link to from your website. All good so far. Okay, the second thing I want to talk about is Kajabi. Now, this is quite a beast when you come to it, and sometimes you can look and go, oh my goodness, there's so many functions, there's so many things that I could do. And believe me, I mean, I've been with Kajabi now since May, and I really do just feel like I'm just getting started. And I'm sure if a professional marketing expert looked at how I was using it, and I'm sure if a professional marketing person looked at it and the way that I was using it, they would probably say that I was leaving so much money on the table. However, I'm not there yet, but I will get there, and all will be groovy as and when that moment happens. Now, Kajabi is that bigger investment. It is something that I pay a monthly fee for. So it's really important that I keep a consistent flow of people accessing my courses, that it just doesn't get stale, and I can't really afford to have, 2 or 3 months where I just leave it hanging out to dry. Again, that could be something that I look at in the future in terms of doing much more of a monthly option. So I have recurring income every single month, and I have lots of customers, for example, who, 100 customers who are always paying for the brand new material. But as I mentioned before, I'm not there yet, but I will get there, and it will be all great. The thing that I really love about Kajabi is that I can make it look great. It can create a framework. So you can add the modules and everything becomes a step-by-step situation. You even get a progress bar when you go through one of the courses. So you can start to see it as a lovely course that doesn't take a lot of work to code and personalize. It's very easy to use once you're in there. Another thing that I like about it is that you can create sales pages. So you can add in images or payment options or videos and make it really personalized, make it really compelling and interesting and much more aesthetically pleasing than just a load of writing. I love that you can change the prices. So even if you're, for example, selling a course for £100, if you want to do a special offer, you can do that very, very easily and just link it as you would do. I love that, again, it links up with my Stripe account, so it's very easy to get paid and all very straightforward. Another thing that I love about it is that you have complete control of the content and when it is delivered. So for example, if I'm in a marketing phase of my business and I know that I'm opening the doors again for one of my courses, I can create the courses behind the scenes, but I can kind of keep them private until I'm ready to release them. So that's really lovely. Overall, Kajabi has so many functions, again, many of which I'm probably not utilising or accessing even yet, but I'm looking at it at this stage and I've really had a taste of, I see how people do this. I see how you can scale. I can see how I can have a really thriving, interesting online business, and really starting to see the value and the potential of that, which has been great. So I've shared a lot in this episode about this technology. I hope it hasn't bored you, and I hope it has actually been useful. As I mentioned before, any questions, send me an email, hello@nickyraby.com, or DM me over on Instagram @NickyRaby, and I'll send you a voice note. I'll let you know my thoughts, and just make sure that you ask me really great questions. The more you can tell me about your business, for example, or what it is that you're looking for, I can advise much more freely. Once again, thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to my mailing list, my magazine, if you want to. It's nickyraby.com/magazine, and I'll see you next time. Bye. Thank you so much for listening, as always. If you do want to rate and review and subscribe over on iTunes, or even share it with a friend, I would love it. Thank you so much for your support. If you want to find out more about me and how we can work together, please go to nickyraby.com or connect with me across social media @NickyRaby. I'll see you soon. Bye.